So the purpose of this video is to go through some voting methods that we want to talk about and compare each voting method and the process that's used to choose a candidate or choose a choice between several alternatives. The first one we're going to talk about is called the plurality method, and this is the one that we're probably most familiar with. And this is all about the candidate or choice that has the most votes wins. There's no need for a majority, and it's just whoever gets the most votes will win the election or become the favored choice. The majority rules method is all about obtaining more than 50% of the vote that's required to win an election. The Borda count method is sort of an interesting ranking system where points are awarded based upon where candidates are ranked. The Condorcet candidate is all about head-to-head battles, and the candidate that is favored and defeats every other candidate in a head-to-head battle wins. Now, there is also a jury theorem, a Condorcet jury theorem, and if the probability that each voter will choose the better alternative is greater than 1/2, let's say there's a situation where a person looks guilty in a jury trial, and the better alternative is the guilty verdict, and it's better than 1/2, then the probability that the group will choose the better alternative, the guilty alternative, increases with the number of voters. So the more voters you have, the more likely that better alternative is chosen, whether it be guilty or not guilty in a two alternative choice. Now, let's go back and take a look at each one of these methods with some examples, and you'll see how easy they are with these examples. So here's what we have with our first one. We have Albert, Barbara, and Cecil. They're all running for the class president, and the method we're going to use is the plurality method. Now, the plurality method is all about whoever gets the most votes wins. So Albert has 27, Barbara has 32. In order to win, Cecil must get 33 votes. If he gets one more vote than the other candidates, then that choice, Cecil, will win. Let's go down to number 3, and I'll come back to number 2 in a second. For this one, we have a majority rules method to determine an election. We have 400 voters in the voting pool. We have one candidate that has received 150 votes. Now, what we want to determine is how many votes in total more this person needs to win the election. So we have 400 voters, and here's a common mistake. People think majority rules 50%. It has to be more than 50%. So in order to get a majority, a candidate would have to get 201. Everybody thinks it's just 200. It's not. It's one more, so 201 votes to win an election. One candidate has 150 votes already, so they would have to get another 51 votes to win in order to reach a majority of 201. So there's how you would do that one. Now for number 2, going back to do that one, this is also a majority rules. Somebody has to get more than 50% of the vote. So we have Sam and Ben sitting at 200 and 314 votes. They have a total of 514 votes received in this election. Sally comes along and is thinking, well, if I have to get a majority, get more than 50% of the vote, she would have to get 515 votes to win. She would get more than 50% of the vote when I combine Sam and Ben's votes to get 514. She would need one more to top Sam and Ben and get a majority. So there's the plurality and the majority rules. Let me show you how to work through a Borda count. This is all about the point system. So my Borda count method, we have Allison, Barb, and Katie. running for an election, A, B, and C, and here is a chart. So this first voter ranked the candidates from most favorite to least favorite. Voter number 1 said Barb is my most favorite candidate. There are 3 voters, so Barb picks up 3 points. Katie is in second place. She gets 2 points. And then Allison is in last place. She gets 1 point. So since there are 3 candidates, first place is 3 points, second place is 2 points, third place is 1 point. Candidate 2 comes along and says, well, Katie is my favorite candidate. Barbara is in second place. Allison again is in last place, so she only gets 1. Third voter, Barb gets 3 points. Allison gets 2 for second place. Katie gets 1 for last. Fourth voter, Barb, 3 points. Allison, 2. Katie, 1. Fifth voter, Barb was in first place, 3 points. Katie was in second place, 2 points. Allison was in last place, 1 point. Sixth voter, Allison is in first place, 3 points. Katie is in second place, 2 points. Barb is in third place, 1 point. Voter 7 has Allison in first place, Barb in second, Katie in third. Voter 8, Katie in first place, Barb in second, Allison in third place. And voter number 9, the last voter, Katie in first, Barb in second, Allison in last. And all you have to do is add up the points to see who wins. Allison, 15 points. Barbara, 21 points. Katie, 18 points. Barbara wins. Barbara got the most number of points. So there is how you do reading a chart like that and assigning points based on the rankings. Now, in the above problem, what is the maximum number of points any candidate could have received in this election? So I have 9 voters from my chart. So members 1 through 9, if all 9 voters choose the same candidate as their favorite candidate, that candidate would get 3 points 9 times, would be maxed out at 27 points. So there is how you would do one like that, a little bit different. Now, the next one, this is a wild looking chart, but it's easy to work with. We have 3 candidates, and they are compared to each other, Andy, Ben, and Charlie. And we're going to assign some points based upon this chart. We have 5 voting members voting, and each voter compares each candidate with the other. This voter number 1, they say, well, Ben and Andy are about the same to me. They're equal. I am going to give Andy and Ben each a half a point. There is 1 point per comparison. Voter number 1 is also non-committal when they compare Andy and Charlie. Andy and Charlie split another half a point. Now, when member 1 compares Charlie and Ben, member 1 says, I like Charlie better, so Charlie gets an entire point. So there is what these less than, greater than, and equals to symbols means when you're comparing people. Let's take a look at voter number 2. Voter number 2 says Andy is less than Ben, or Ben is greater than Andy. Ben gets the entire point in the comparison. Voter 2 says Andy is greater than Charlie, so Andy picks up an entire point. Voter 2 says, well, Ben and Charlie, they're about the same, so I will split that point between both of them, and I will call both of them equal. Now, voter number 3 says Andy is better than Ben. Andy is better than Charlie. Charlie is better than Ben. Voter number 3 did not like Ben. Ben got nothing from voter number 3. Voter number 4, Ben is greater than Andy. Andy and Charlie are the same, so we'll go halvesies on that point. Charlie is better than Ben. Charlie picks up an entire point. Now the last voter, Andy is better than Ben. Andy is better than Charlie. And Ben and Charlie are about the same. So, adding up all of those points, we would have 6.5 points for Andy, 3.5 points for Ben, 5 points for Charlie. Andy would win the election using this pairwise comparison method. Now, let's take a look at one more example where we sort of combine all of these different concepts with a church voting for the congregation president. We have 4 candidates: Andy, Barb, Katie, and Don. Candidates A, B, C, and D. We have the voting members of the congregation, and here's how they voted. 2 members using the board account method ranked the candidates. So 2 people in the congregation said Andy was their first and most favorite choice. With 4 candidates, Andy picks up 4 points for being in first place. Barb is in second place. She gets 3 points. Katie is in third place. She only gets 2 points for third place. And Don is in last place with 1 point. So 2 people voted Andy, Barb, Katie, and Don in that order. Now, 49 people came along and listed their candidates, and 49 people agreed that Barb was their favorite choice. So with 4 candidates, Barb gets 4 points. Next was Katie. She was in second place. She gets 3 points. Andy was in third place, gets 2 points. Don was in last place, gets 1 point. 48 members of the congregation voted, and they had their favorite candidate was Katie. So Katie gets 4 points for being in first place with those 48 people. Don comes along in second place. He gets 3 points. Then Barb, then Andy in third and fourth place for those 48 voters. Now, one member comes along and says, Don is my favorite choice. Don picks up 4 points from one person. Katie, second place, 3 points. Barb, third place, 2 points. Andy, last place, 1 point. I am going to add all of these up, and when I do, I get 155 points for Andy, 300 points for Barb, 346 for Katie, and 199 for Don. Using the board account method, Katie wins the election. Now, let's take a look at the plurality method. Whoever gets the most first place votes wins. Doesn't have to be a majority. Whoever gets the most first place votes is the winner. Andy gets 2 first place votes. Barb, 49. Katie, 48. Don, 1. Barb wins with 49 first place votes. So Katie won the board account, Barb wins the plurality. Now, let's check out the majority rules. Who wins a majority here? Well, first thing we have to do is see how many voters we have. We have 2 plus 49 plus 48 plus 1. We have 100 voters. So in order to get a majority has to be 51 votes in order to have a winner. Andy got 2. Barb got 49. Katie had 48. Don had 1. Nobody has a majority. We do not have a winner using majority rules because there was not enough voters to get 51 for one candidate. Nobody wins. Barbara was close with 48, but that still was 49, but that still wasn't enough. Katie was close with 48, but it was not 51, so nobody wins the election using majority rules. Now, let's see who's going to be the Condorcet candidate when we do a head-to-head battle in competition. I am going to put candidate A, Andy, up against candidate B, Barb, in a head-to-head competition. Why did I choose Andy and Barb? Because their letters are A and B, first 2 letters in the alphabet. So what I'm going to do is take a look at these 2 voters who they preferred. These 2 had Andy favored over Barb. Andy was in first place, Barb was in second, so Andy gets those 2 votes. The 49, Barb gets because Barbara was in first place, so she gets 49 votes. The 48 also had Barb favored, and then this 1 voter was also for Barb at the end. Barb was in third, Andy was in last. B wins, Barbara wins this little battle. Andy only had 2, Barbara had 98, Barbara wins the little battle. That doesn't mean Barbara wins a war with the election. We have to put B up against C in my next battle. Barbara defeated Andy. Let's stick with our winner. Let's see if Barbara can defeat Katie in a head-to-head battle. We're going to keep going. So comparing B and C, Barb gets 2 because Barbara was in second place, Katie was in third place. 49 votes on the line. Barbara gets those. She is in first place, Katie is in second place. This next group, Katie is in first place, Barbara is in third place, Katie gets the 48, and then this last one, Katie is favored over Barb because Katie was in second place, Barb was in third place. Adding up these votes, 51 to 49, it was close. Barbara defeats Katie in this head-to-head battle, 51 to 49. So Barbara has defeated Andy, Barbara has defeated Katie. My last battle, Barbara is against Don. If Barbara can defeat Don, then we have a winner. If Don defeats Barbara, we have to put Don against Katie, we have to put Don against Andy. Let's see how this is going to turn out. Comparing Barbara with Don. Barbara is in second, Don is in fourth. Barbara gets 2 votes. 49 people prefer Barbara in first place, Don in last. Barbara gets those 49 votes. Let's compare these 48. Don is in second, Barbara is in third. Don gets those 48. Then the last one, Don is in first. Barbara is in third. Right there, first and third. Add those up, 51 49, Barbara wins. So Barbara wins the election because Barbara has defeated all of the candidates head-to-head. Barbara wins the Condorcet candidate. So, reviewing this, it depends what method is used. Board account, Katie won, plurality, Barbara won, majority rules, nobody wins, and Condorcet candidate, Barbara wins. So there is how you do all of the different voting methods.